Welcome to G Fun Facts Online. Let's get straight into the subject. For the better part of 20 years, the defining strategy of the technology industry was the ecosystem lock-in, often called the walled garden. Apple wanted you to live entirely within the high walls of iOS. Google sought to organize your digital existence through ad-supported services. Microsoft aimed to own your work life, and Amazon your consumption. These giants operated like nation-states, guarding their borders with proprietary chargers and incompatible protocols. To collaborate with a rival was seen as a weakness, a breach of sovereignty. But that geopolitical map of Silicon Valley has been shredded. As we settle into 2026, we are witnessing a historical anomaly that we call the Great Detente of big tech. Mortal enemies are shaking hands. Platforms that once fought thermonuclear wars over patents are now integrating their core technologies. Apple has integrated Google's Gemini AI into the iPhone. Disney and Warner Bros. Discovery are selling their streaming services in a single bundle. Microsoft is hosting Oracle databases directly inside Azure data centers. Even independent German automakers are pooling software resources. This shift isn't driven by altruism. It is driven by three ruthless existential forces: the crushing capital costs of artificial intelligence, the unyielding hammer of global regulation, and a consumer base that has finally hit the wall of fragmentation fatigue. This is the story of platform pairing, and why the next $1 trillion in tech wealth will be generated not by isolation, but by interdependence. Let's start with the most symbolic moment of this new era, the Apple-Google Gemini Accord. In January 2026, Apple formally announced that its Apple Intelligence Suite would be powered, in significant part, by Google's Gemini Foundation models. To understand the magnitude of this, you have to rewind to 2010. Steve Jobs vowed to spend his last dying breath and every penny of Apple's cash to destroy Android, which he viewed as a stolen product. For 15 years, that divide was the central fault line of personal computing. So why did Tim Cook invite the fox into the henhouse? The answer lies in the inference cost crisis. By 2024, it became clear that while Apple had mastered on-device silicon, they had fallen behind in the training of massive, world-knowledge large language models. Training a frontier model like GPT-5 or Gemini Ultra costs billions of dollars in compute and energy. That is a game Google and Microsoft had a decade-long head start on. For Apple, the calculation was cold and strategic. Building a search engine-grade knowledge model from scratch would take years and risk the one thing Apple prizes above all, which is user trust. If Siri hallucinates, the Apple brand takes the hit. By partnering with Google, Apple effectively outsourced the back-end brain of the internet to a company that organizes information for a living. For Google, this deal was a lifeline. Despite their technical prowess, Google was facing a distribution crisis as OpenAI and Microsoft ate into search habits. The iPhone represents the most lucrative demographic on the planet. By embedding Gemini into iOS, Google secured its future relevance on the world's most important hardware device. The partnership is structured with a distinct privacy airlock. Apple handles personal context like your calendar and emails on device. When a query requires world knowledge, like planning a travel itinerary, Apple hands the baton to Gemini, stripping away the user's identity before the request hits Google servers. This is the new archetype of tech collaboration. The distributor meets the model provider. If Apple and Google are the public face of this trend, Microsoft and Oracle are the industrial engine room. For decades, Oracle's Larry Ellison and Microsoft's leadership traded barbs. Oracle was the database of the on-premise era, and Azure was the challenger of the cloud era. The assumption was that to move to the cloud, a company had to abandon Oracle. But it didn't happen. Enterprise customers like banks and airlines refused to move. They were stuck in a hybrid purgatory, paying for latency-heavy connections between the two clouds. The breakthrough came with Oracle Database at Azure. This wasn't just a marketing partnership, it was a physical co-location. Oracle literally moved its Exadata hardware inside Microsoft's data centers. This level of physical integration is unprecedented between rivals. It admits a crucial defeat for the single cloud dream. Microsoft acknowledged it would not replace Oracle's database monopoly in the Fortune 500, and Oracle acknowledged it would not beat Azure as general-purpose infrastructure. The result is a multi-cloud reality that actually works. A customer can run a transaction ledger on an Oracle machine sitting in an Azure rack, and run AI analytics on an OpenAI model on Azure servers next door with zero latency. This signals the maturation of the cloud market. The land grab is over, and the optimization phase has begun. Moving to the consumer living room, nowhere is the pain of fragmentation more visceral than in streaming. The streaming wars of 2019 to 2024 resulted in a consumer nightmare of too many apps and too many bills. Churn rates skyrocketed. Users would sign up for Disney Plus to watch one show, cancel, sign up for Max for another, and move on. This subscribe and ditch behavior destroyed the unit economics of streaming. Enter the bundle. The partnership between Disney and Warner Bros. Discovery is the admission that content is no longer enough. Retention is the only metric that matters. By combining libraries, they created a synthetic monopoly. The data from late 2025 shows that subscribers to the Disney Max bundle churn at less than half the rate of standalone subscribers. This pairing also solves a massive technical inefficiency in ad tech. By pooling their inventory, these streamers can offer advertisers a unified view of the consumer across the entire bundle. They have realized that their true enemy isn't each other, it is TikTok, YouTube, and Sleep. They are circling the wagons to protect the format of premium long-form video. While Silicon Valley pairs up to optimize profits, the automotive industry is pairing up to avoid extinction. The threat from China's EV sector and Tesla's software dominance created a code red for legacy automakers. For years, companies like Volkswagen tried to build their own software stacks, and the results were catastrophic. In 2025, the ego was finally set aside with the S-Core initiative, an alliance involving major European auto groups building a shared, open-source operating system kernel. The logic is simple. A heated seat controller or a window-wiping algorithm does not sell a Porsche over a Mercedes. These are non-differentiating software commodities. By collaborating on the plumbing of the software-defined vehicle, rivals share the massive R&D burden and free up resources to compete on brand and driving experience. We are also seeing the Silicon Valley injection, where automakers are surrendering the dashboard to experts via Android Automotive and Qualcomm's digital chassis. Now, it would be naive to attribute all this collaboration to market forces alone. A significant architect of this new era sits in Brussels. The European Union's Digital Markets Act has effectively legislated interoperability. The DMA forced gatekeepers to open up their technical architectures. It mandated messaging interoperability, forced Apple to allow third-party app stores, and required data portability. While American regulators focused on breaking companies up, European regulators focused on making them talk to each other. Because global tech platforms prefer a single global codebase, they often default to the interoperable European standard worldwide. Regulation didn't just punish the giants, it forced them to build the bridges they had long refused to construct. Perhaps the most tangible benefit for the average consumer is found in the smart home. For a decade, the Internet of Things was a mess of Zigbee, Z-Wave, and Bluetooth. The Matter standard, backed by an unprecedented alliance of Apple, Google, Amazon, Samsung, and Comcast, has finally stabilized. With the rollout of Matter 1.5 in 2026, we are seeing the true promise of this alliance. Amazon allowed Alexa to control a Google Nest thermostat because the confusion tax was keeping mainstream consumers from buying smart home gear at all. By agreeing on a common language, the tech giants accepted that they would compete on the intelligence of their assistants, not the compatibility of the light switch. In conclusion, we have moved from the era of aggregation, where the goal was to capture all users on one platform, to the era of interdependence. This shift is precarious. These partnerships are strategic alliances that can dissolve as quickly as they formed. However, the underlying drivers are permanent. The problems technology is now trying to solve, such as artificial general intelligence, climate-friendly infrastructure, and the digitization of the physical world, are too complex and too expensive for any single company to solve in isolation. The giants have realized that in a world of infinite connectivity, the only way to remain a king is to learn how to be a partner. The walls of the garden haven't fallen, but the gates are open, and traffic is flowing. For the consumer, for the market, and for the future of innovation, that is a very good thing. Thanks for listening to G Fun Facts Online.